Angelica for a Day seemed like it was going to be a really great Rugrats episode and providing some really good food for thought about the power of belief. And I'll talk more about that in a moment, but I will say the ending was massively disappointing. But I'll leave that for a spoiler warning in case you don't remember what happens at the end. But I enjoyed all of it until we got to the end. This is the second segment of the 9th episode of the 5th season of Rugrats, and in this one, Tommy and Chuckie go over to play on Big Kid Mountain, but it's far too scary for Chuckie. And a remark that I think Drew made to Stu about not wanting to be in somebody else's shoes led the babies to believe, with Angelica's help, that if you wear somebody else's shoes, you become that person. This is not a unique concept. And the babies take this very literally and put Angelica's shoes, when she takes them off briefly, on Chuckie. Without Angelica's consent, of course. And Chuckie becomes like Angelica. And I thought this was a great story about if you believe something is going to happen, it might happen. Kind of like the placebo effect. Chuckie thinks that if he wears Angelica's shoes, he will become like Angelica, and so it happens. And I thought, brilliant, this is a message about believing, well, in yourself. If you believe you will have the bravery to go up Big Kid Mountain, and you believe you have these magical shoes that will make it happen, it can actually facilitate that. I think I've mentioned this before in the context of Rugrats, where children often have magical garments. For example, if a child is scared of going outside, they might have a magical coat. It's an ordinary coat, but their parents tell them it's magical to make them feel like they have this superpower to conquer whatever is scary outside. And it's the same with the shoes. If Chuckie believed he had these shoes on, he adopted this personality. And it is I thought it was an episode about the power of self-belief. And at the end of the episode, it just said, no, this isn't what it's about. So I guess I'll explain at the end of the episode. So at the end, Tommy realizes that it was all a dream. Now, first of all, the number one rule of good writing is never end it with, and it was all a dream. With the occasional exception of horror, where they wake up and think it was all a dream, and then actually it turns out, no, it wasn't, which is always really fun. But generally, you should never just say it was all a dream, because it really ruins the immersive emotional experience that the viewer has gone on with those characters. And then if you say, actually, none of this happened, it's kind of a shock to the system, and it's not a great device for writing a quality narrative. So I was really disappointed by that, and I don't think they needed to do it. I don't think they needed to say, actually, all of this that's just happened is not believable, so we'll make it a dream. Because I think it is believable. I think that if you think something is going to happen if you do something, such as putting on a pair of shoes, then it might happen. Kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. In fact, it is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that in itself is always a really fascinating thing, and I don't think that's too complex for a children's show. And I really thought that that's what they were doing with this, and it made it really interesting, and I was really invested in this narrative and how the characters were changing based on items of clothing or shoes that they were wearing, and then they just ruined it. So it's generally a good episode if you turn it off before the last 2 minutes. I can't say I was very pleased at all with how it ended. The destination may have been terrible, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed the journey.